This is the third annual 9-Step Promises Workshop sponsored by the Overeaters Anonymous Silicon Valley Intergroup. This video was produced based on the materials presented at the online workshop for the OA Silicon Valley Intergroup. The opinions expressed in the workshop reflect the experience, strength, and hope of all the workshop leaders and do not represent Overeaters Anonymous as a whole.
Welcome to Overeaters Anonymous Silicon Valley. My name is Mindy. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I'll be your moderator for this evening. I have asked Kasturi from Silicon Valley to lead us in our opening prayer.
Hi, my name is Kasturi, compulsive overeater. Hello, everyone. After a moment of silence, let us begin with the Serenity Prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you, Kasturi. Welcome to the third annual Promises Workshop from Silicon Valley. Welcome to you all near and far. This workshop is brought to you by a small meeting in Silicon Valley that focuses on fear, anxiety, resentments, and forgiveness. We talk about these issues and we seek solutions together through the 12 steps and 12 traditions of OA. We usually do this as a beautiful candlelight event in person. And while we're disappointed that we can't be doing it that way this year, we're even more excited to be bringing this to our OA friends in other areas. Tonight, you will hear from 12 speakers, each speaking on one of the promises and how it has come true for them through the OA program. There will be no breaks, no sharing, no questions, and there won't be any seventh tradition. In the spirit of unity, if you'd like to make a contribution, please do so to your local intergroup, region, or world service. Tonight, we'd like to focus on the peace and hope of the program. So without any further comments, I'd like to invite our first speaker to begin.
Hi, my name is Frank, and I am a recovered compulsive overeater. I'm talking about Promise 1. I'll also mention all the other promises because I'm going to show how all these other promises are why we will be amazed. And I'll start by reciting all the promises. So the first promise is, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. The promise I'm talking about is the first promise. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. Now, these are the 9-step promises. So that's saying that we'll be amazed before we are halfway through the 9th step. However, I've heard that a newcomer can work any step that starts with a 1. For example, if you hurt someone while you're working steps 1 through 9, please do not wait until you get to step 9 to make amends. Similarly, you can also pray and meditate at any time, and you can do service at any time. So while you work steps 1 through 9, you can also be working steps 10, 11, and 12. After you finish step 9, you will do a more formal 10, 11, and 12. But what we really need to do is to be painstaking about working all the steps. So that's what it means by painstaking there. And the reason we will be amazed is because we will be a very different person after we've worked all the steps than we were before. After all, by the 12th step, we will have had a spiritual awakening. In fact, the big book has a very nice description of the way we were before, and a common name for that description is the Bedevilments. Now, these appear in the chapter We Agnostics on page 52, the paragraph right in the middle of the page there. And in the paragraph before that, it says, show any longshoreman a Sunday supplement describing a proposal to explore the moon by means of a rocket, and he will say, I bet you do, and maybe not so long either. Is not our age characterized by the ease with which we discard old ideas for new ideas? Then they go on to say, we had to ask ourselves, why shouldn't we apply to our human problems the same readiness to change our point of view? After all, we are having trouble with personal relationships. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy, and we couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. Was not a basic solution to these bedevilments more important than if we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Of course it was. So these bedevilments describe what we were like before the program. And now I'm going to go through the promises in order and show that the bedevilment problems with the corresponding promise that solves that problem. The first bedevilment is that we were unhappy, and the promise is that we are going to know new freedom and a new happiness. The next one is that our problem is that we could not control our emotional natures, and the promise is that we will not experience the emotion of regret. We will also be serene and peaceful. Our problem is that we were miserable and depressed, and the promise is that we will be serene and peaceful. Our problem is that we could not help other people, and the promise is that we will see how our experience can benefit others. Our problem is that we had feelings of uselessness, and the promise is that the feelings of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Our problem is that we had trouble with our personal relationships, and the promise is that we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows, and that self-seeking will slip away. Our problem is that we were full of fear, and the promise is that the fear of people and the fear of economic insecurity will leave us. Our problem is that we cannot make a living, and the promise is not that we will make a living, maybe we will or maybe we won't. Rather, the promise is that the fear of economic insecurity will leave us. In other words, that'll happen no matter what our circumstances. So the reason we will be amazed is that the 12 steps will solve all the bedevilment problems, and thus the promises will come true. So now it's time to go on to the second promise.
Good evening. My name is Narvette, and I'm a grateful, recovering, compulsive overeater down in Florida on the East Coast. My promise is promise number 2. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Before Overeaters Anonymous, all I knew was depression, bondage, and despair. I was obese. I don't know what my top weight was because once I hit the scale at 252 pounds in October of 2008, I stopped weighing. I came to Overeaters Anonymous in August of 2009 during the darkest season of my life. I'd lost my job. I was in a crisis therapy intervention group facing legal problems. And 2 months prior, I'd been in an accident that left me unable to walk or drive. I got to OA through a therapist who suggested the program and gave me the assignment to attend an OA meeting. So the first Saturday of August 2009, I hobbled into the rooms of Overeaters Anonymous in Decatur, Georgia, and began this journey. And for the first time in my life, I was in the presence of people who understood why I responded to food and life the way I did. It took me 8 months to get my first sponsor out of fear of making phone calls. When I got my sponsor, she had me to start reading the Alcoholics Anonymous book and to highlight anything I connected with. The freedom, this new freedom, began to come for me in the first step, realizing that compulsive overeating is a disease. It's not a moral issue, so I didn't have to beat myself up anymore about it. And I was able to see the evidence of my powerlessness through the first 4 chapters of the Alcoholics Anonymous book and through step 1 in the 12 and 12. I couldn't fix my problem with food, and letting God lead me and guide me out of the bondage opened the door to the next taste of this new freedom. My abstinence date is June 24th, 2012. And with abstinence came the freedom of not thinking about food 24 hours a day. As I began unloading the baggage through the 4-step inventory I'd carried around for years, I felt better. My attitude shifted, and sharing the exact nature of my wrongs in step 5 granted me even more freedom, the courage to begin using my voice. More freedom continued to come as I became willing to admit my wrongs and began making amends to those at harm. It's not always easy, but on the other side of those amends, I feel lighter and I feel freer. I've released 125 to 130 pounds of body weight and an unmeasurable amount of mental and emotional weight. Back then, I ate 3 meals a day and lived life in between. That has evolved since I've come into the rooms because now I have a life of freedom. Today, instead of eating 3 meals a day and living life in between, I live my life stopping 3 times per day to provide my body the nourishment it needs. And that keeps food in its rightful place. The happiness for me ebbs and flows. I suffer from hypothyroidism, depression, and ADHD, and all those ailments have affected my brain chemistry and mood. And so I show myself a lot of grace and compassion in those areas. My higher power does. I tied happiness to perfection before I weigh. Today, a part of acceptance is embracing the reality that with all of my physical maladies, including this allergy of the body, and living in the solution, which for me involves receiving outside help and following directions under the guidance and direction of the Spirit. I frame the concept of happiness through the lens of joy. I'm currently not sponsoring, but the awareness I possess and about the freedom and the happiness that the program of recovery offers comes through the joy of working with others to live in the solution, knowing that I'm being used to help someone else recover, getting me out of self. I'm always happy to see a fellow embrace this way of living and to help along the way. No one can rob me of joy today. It is mine to give away. I accept that my life will never be perfect. My worst days since I've been in the rooms of OA are better than my best days before the rooms because I encounter the love and the fellowship in this wonderful program. If one just simply gets a sponsor, picks up this simple toolkit and follows directions, operating in the solution instead of the problem, just for today, this promise of new freedom and a new happiness will become a reality through the 12-step program of OA. With that, I pass.
Hello, my name's Terry. I'm a compulsive eater, and I've been given the privilege and joy of speaking on step promise 3. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. I'm a compulsive eater from Maryland. I've been working and living the steps to the best of my ability for 43 years. I honestly thought this is one promise that won't come true for me. I had a broken childhood, and I made a lot of mistakes, You know, I've done so many things I seriously wish I hadn't. I mean, shameful things. I felt like a bad person, dishonest. I lacked integrity. I would not take responsibility. I was a liar. I lied when the truth would have worked. And when I cleared away the wreckage of my past, when I made amends, and you know what, making amends wasn't that much fun. I thought everyone would say, wow, you're the greatest person because you're making those amends. They took the money. They said, okay, figure out how much you owe us and pay us back. I thought they'd say, here's a medal because you're so cool now. Nope, that didn't happen. But it still helped me clear away the wreckage of the past. I made my amends and I implored higher power to relieve me of my shortcomings and bondage of self. And all of a sudden, the promises started happening. It was not anything I did. I put down the food and picked up the steps. That's all I did. And it was not any effort of my own. I didn't say, well, today I will not regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. And I learned something, and I learned it in these rooms. I was not a bad person. I was a fearful person. Every decision that I made that I regretted was predicated on fear. Fear of getting in trouble, fear of my mother beating the hell out of me, fear of being found out as a phony, whatever the fear was. Sometimes the fear wasn't even real. If I peeled that onion of fear down to the nub, I don't even know what I was afraid of. No one was going to take a gun and shoot me, but I was afraid of being hurt. I was afraid of being rejected. I don't even know what I was afraid of. I have let go of that fear. I got to tell you something, that feels really good. It feels really good not to be fearful anymore. And I love this question, what would God have me be? So when I am afraid, I say, okay, what would God have me be? And I don't get this direct connection with God. It's usually through people. It's usually through that gut. But the answers do come. I'm a big ruminator. Sometimes I ruminate about the past. It's usually when I get in bed at night, I start thinking, I have 3 kids and they all turned out great. I mean, they're great. We have a great relationship. But I start ruminating about the mistakes I made, not focusing on the good things I did, but that I didn't buy my son a cat when he was 3 because he got in the car and wanted a kitty. Or I left a kid at the mall because I said, if you're not here at this time, I'm leaving you. And I did it. And his sister did rescue him, but I still regret that I have made amends. And now when I start ruminating, I recoil as if from a hot flame. I am not that person today. I am not that person today. And I then go into a gratitude list. I did the best I could. So here's the thing. This is what really floors me. Everything that has happened to me up to this very moment has brought me to this moment of who I am right now. If I hadn't had that broken kind of childhood, if I hadn't had the experiences of the past, I would not be the person I am today. And you know what? On my good days, and there's more good days than not so good days, I really like the person I am. I like my value system. You know what? There's one more quick thing I want to say. I don't know what time it is. When I did this with my husband, it was 2 minutes, but I've thrown in all sorts of extra stuff, which I'm want to do. But anyway, I realized something. And then what I realized is I'm judging my past on being a 69-year-old person with 43 years of recovery, not an 18-year-old scared survivor. I'm judging my decisions when I did not have those skills and ability. I could not have made the decisions I would make today because I was young, I was immature, I was overeating. That says it all. So I have to reframe this, not as a bad person, but as a survivor. And I do want to say that after all these years of guarding my abstinence and working so hard to do what I'm supposed to do, I am reaping the benefits of the program. From all my mistakes I have learned, they're kind of like stepping stones. That's the name of our little newsletter. I share my experience, strength, and hope with others so they know how far I have come. I have made mistakes. I have learned from them, and then I move on. And I never thought I would say this. I just went to a gratitude meeting, so I'm full of gratitude. Good thing I didn't go to a depression meeting. I'd be full of depression. But anyway, I'm so full of gratitude because, I got to end, but I'm just going to say, I would not be the person I am today without this program. And I guard my abstinence and because I'm worth it. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening. And now we get to hear about Promise 4.
Hi, my name is Tanya. I'm a compulsive overeater from Snohomish, Washington State. And my promise is number 4. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. When I got this particular promise, I thought, oh man, what am I going to talk about here? And so one of the things that one of my favorite OA buddies does is when asked to speak about something, well, let's look in the dictionary at some of these definitions. For example, serenity is a state of being calm, peaceful, or untroubled. It means you will not be troubled by life's up and downs. Well, we all know that addiction brings chaos and emotional turmoil. And peace is freedom from this disturbance. It's a place of tranquility, a state at which we are not at war. There either the war is ended or there is no war. So when I started in OA in the Bay Area 32 years ago, I was anything but tranquil. I was anything but serene, and I had no peace. I could not walk down a grocery store aisle without just, it was bad. I've been sober with the food for 28 years, and my OA birthday from when I started OA will actually be this Saturday. So that's pretty amazing. I've been in program longer than I've not been in program. And I think that's kind of remarkable. So when I came into program, the answers were always in the fridge, always. And, I used to dread the holidays. I used to dread eating out or eating in other people's homes. I was so afraid of what I would eat or how I would eat. So, I believe, so what is different? I think I've had, a slow spiritual experience, not the burning bush, but the slow garden variety spiritual experience. And it's come from all those years of practicing the steps, using the tools, living the traditions. And I believe they've changed the very structure of my brain. I used to be, self-doubt, self-hatred or criticism. You have fat thighs, what that was, what was in my brain. And now through working the program, when I'm troubled, my mind goes to call a friend, text your sponsor, read some literature, use a tool, where again, the answers used to always be in the refrigerator. Some of the, I don't dread the holidays anymore. I don't have to close my eyes when I walk down certain aisles of the store. I don't mind eating out at other people's houses. If I need to, I'll just bring some food that I know I can eat. One of the examples of comprehending the word serenity and knowing peace is when my twins were in the NICU, and they were born 2 months early. They were 2 pounds, 13 ounces and 3 pounds, 8 ounces. I had a life-threatening pregnancy. I mean, it's like, thank God the human race didn't depend on me for reproduction, because we would have been gone many, generations ago. But, they were, to have one of my twins go through 3 surgeries in 4 months, and not knowing sometimes day by day if they were going to make it. And during this time, I was working a really hard program. I was very calm. I was very peaceful. I was cracking jokes about things. This is not something that came from me, because, I come from a place of being anxious, very fear-based, very perfectionistic, very driven. And, one of the things that this program has given me is the ability to go through crisis and real pretty serious trauma very calmly. And, it's like grace. It's a gift. Like abstinence is a gift. As long as I do the footwork, this comes. And, and we made it through those terrible, the first 2 years where, trying to keep them alive. They're now in college. They now SAS. They are not, my children are not on my food plan anymore. Serenity sometimes is a little bit sketchy when they start sassing, but my children are not on my food plan, and they are, so I jokingly say, now I understand why mother animals in the wild sometimes eat their young. I still understand that, but I'm much more serene. I enjoy life. I enjoy life. I keep coming back because you guys make me laugh. Really. I mean, I keep coming back. People say, why do you keep coming back to OE? Because they make me laugh. And I do have serenity, and I do know peace. And I am so grateful for this program and that you came. I have a few seconds left, so I think I'll pass this to the next person.
Thank you. That was beautiful. My name's Barbara. I'm a recovering compulsive overeater from New York City. And the promise I have is no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. So I guess I should go back and say I have been in the rooms, I think around 48 years. I'm really not sure. I've maintained a weight loss of 65 to 70 pounds. I don't weigh myself. I look in the closet, and as long as everything fits, I'm in really good shape. And I am in really good shape. I ran 5 miles today. I can't believe I ran 5 miles today. I went pretty far down the scale. I did. I heard someone at a meeting share once that the only thing that he believed he couldn't come back from was killing somebody. And I think all of us, I speak for myself, I live with those, what did I do? And whatever it is that I have done, this program taught me that by working the steps, I could learn to forgive myself. I thought, Mindy, first of all, Mindy, thank you for pulling this together. I didn't know your meeting was about fear, anxiety, resentments, and forgiveness. And I think for me, that's what working these steps have helped me with: my fears, my anxiety, my resentments, and learning to forgive myself and others over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter what I did, as long as I understand what I did. And a few speakers have said this. I think that the promises for me are about living. That's what they are. I'm living the promises. And yes, for me, they just, one day I just turned around and there they were. I had some of them. I never have them 100%, all of them all the time, but I'm doing okay. And I have little benchmarks that tell me when I'm okay. One of them is my sense of humor. When my sense of humor is there, I know I'm working my steps. I have a routine. No matter how far down the scale we've gone, I know that my experience is helping others. I had a great experience yesterday with the sponsee who texted me that somebody reached out to her because they were having trouble. And she's 30 days, approximately 30 days into the rooms and abstinent. And she said that her first thing was, oh, I'm 30 days. What can I? And she said she spoke to her about her experience and she felt great afterwards. And for me, that's like, it's a stepping stone. I can give what I have to somebody else and they can take it and they can run with it. Again, I think this promise is about working the steps, which people have said. And I think recovery is in the steps and it's a spiritual program. And when I came in, they talked about 1, 2, and 3, that's kind of getting into the program, getting understandings about compulsion and eating and having a higher power and turning up things over. And then 4 through 9 with the action steps. And I work them pretty much every single day. Yes, I live in 10, 11, 12, no question about it. But it's using the tools of the program to keep on going, to stay on track. I talk to my sponsor, I talk to my sponsees, I read my books. It's a lot of work. But on the other hand, I'm so much happier than I ever was before I came into program. Not every day, people have said that. As a matter of fact, today is the anniversary of my mom's death, and I cried today. And that was great. That was really wonderful. I could feel the pain of having had a mom and whom I loved and lost. And I was able to embrace that and not just knock myself out or think I have to eat compulsively to cover those feelings. I believe that my experience is benefiting others. I see that all the time. And for that, I'm grateful because I was a teacher for 34 years. And now I'm so glad I'm retired. And when I talk to a teacher who's going through teaching with COVID, it's just like, God bless him. I just feel like this program has taught me to own who I am and use that in a way that I never even considered, that I could have these gifts and unwrap them and they might help somebody else along the way. My whole life is different than it was. I got married. I've been married 34 years. I got 2 children, 32, 28, and they're independent women. And it's wonderful. And I don't think I would have had any of this, no experience to share if it hadn't been for my coming into the rooms and staying in the rooms. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Barbara, for your share. My name is Bill. I'm a compulsive eater, calling in from a little island up in the Puget Sound near Washington State. Really, really glad to be here tonight. Grateful to see some of my Pacific Northwest friends in the room with us tonight. And in all honesty, this commitment to do service tonight has kept me abstinent this week. I got the reminder on Sunday. I was in the middle of a binge. I looked at my email. It reminded me that I was speaking, and that has kept me out of the food the last 3 days. So I'm really grateful to be here to share the 6th promise with you. So the promise I'm sharing on is the feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. You gotta love it when a promise from anyone, whether it's in a book, in our program, or people in our lives, uses words like will and are going to, instead of you might or chances are that, right? And the words will and are going to are a big part of the promises when you read the big book. I looked it up and there are 568 times that the word will is used in the big book and in the AA 12 and 12. And I realize that this is a program of anonymity, but gosh, Bill W. found every possible way to get his name into the big book with, you know, will this, will that. He's got his name sprinkled throughout that book for all of us for a reason. And in the promises that we're hearing about tonight, the word will is used 13 times, just in that short passage alone. When I came into program 10 years ago, I didn't know anything about the promises, had never heard them before, but I certainly knew a lot about feelings of uselessness and self-pity. And at that time in my life, although my physical body didn't show it, I had gone through a 200-pound weight loss before coming into the rooms, thinking that all those feelings that I was having, those feelings of uselessness and self-pity, would somehow go away once I had reached my goal weight. And I had lost 100 pounds 5 times prior to that 200-pound weight loss, gained all the weight back every time. But that time I was sure that my unmanageable life would somehow miraculously become manageable, that I'd find a boyfriend, and that that time I'd be able to eat like a normal person. And for me, I didn't really know what that meant. I had either been on a diet or ate whatever I wanted to as much as I wanted to since I was, 9 years old. But I was sure that that time I would figure it out, and I was wrong. The feelings of uselessness really plagued me my whole life as a closeted gay man, as someone who never quite felt good enough and who always seemed to have some new catastrophe to fill up my day. And as I had done from the time, like I said, that I was 8 or 9 years old, I would eat over those feelings to silence them, to kind of numb myself out. But I never found that relief that I was looking for in the refrigerator, in the drive-through, and in the cupboards. Just more of the feelings that I was actually trying so hard to avoid. And back then, I learned right before I came into the rooms, to starve myself after a binge day to kind of keep the scale down, and developed bulimia. When I came into the rooms filled with those feelings of uselessness and self-pity, I was I remember being really immediately pissed off by how happy everybody was, and the fact that people were laughing and enjoying themselves in the rooms. And by the grace of God that day, however, I was able to ask somebody to sponsor me, and I remained abstinent for 5 years. I reported my food, I called fellows, I read and answered pages and pages of questions, and served OA at the intergroup level in Seattle. And looking back, those feelings that I had around my body, my work, my relationships, and just about everything else that I felt that I wasn't doing perfectly had not been removed. I had neglected to pay attention to the beginning of the promises, where it says, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, and I hadn't worked the steps. I had treated OA like another of the long list of diets that I had succeeded at over the years. And after 5 years, I walked away. I've been in and out of the rooms over the past 5 years, and only recently have I been given the gift of a sponsor whose work with me has been grounded in the steps, and the desire for the first time really to be open and honest with her, and to keep coming back to meetings and to her each day, no matter what. And today I'm grateful to say that I'm abstinent, and I can honestly say that the feelings of uselessness and self-pity are fading away into the background. And I know now that they will disappear, and that recovery takes time. Today, I'm feeling better about my body and how I look. I'm not allowing the opinions and feelings of others to impact how I feel about myself. And my higher power, miraculously, is now standing right beside me every step of the way. And today, I'm listening. So thanks for letting me share.
Hi, everybody. My name is Helen. I'm a compulsive overeater from Long Beach, California. The promise I got was we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. So, I've been in Overeaters Anonymous for 45 years. And the first couple years were not good because I didn't really catch on very well. I'm a slow learner, and I thought your job here in Overeaters Anonymous was to help me stay on my diet. And you weren't doing a very good job, let me just say that. And so I struggled for 9 years and, got a handful of sponsors and had fits and starts of abstinence. But the truth was I was controlling, managing, and manipulating behind the scenes. And, what got me into Overeaters Anonymous at such a young age was that I had gained back 100 pounds I had lost in a commercial diet program. And so when you think lose interest in selfish things, boy, when I came in, I got to tell you, I looked like a beacon of self-sacrifice. I was 21 years old and I was financially supporting my mother and my younger brother. So, I mean, what kind of good person is that? That can't be selfish. And it wasn't until I learned many, many years later when I did my fourth step that nothing I did in life was for free and for fun. There was a payoff to everything. And I got to feel superior to you if I was taking care of you. I got to call the shots. I got to manage, dictate, control. And I liked that. I liked being a hero. Even my reasons, for going into nursing weren't very altruistic. I really didn't like people that much. I wasn't very empathetic. It wasn't a good fit, let me say that. Even at my first job, I'm going to tell you what my first spiritual awakening was. I was working the 11 to 7 shift, and they had laid off all the housekeepers at that particular hospital on the night shift. And they actually wanted the nurses to empty the trash cans. So I thought, well, this is something I've got to make my sponsor aware of, that they are actually having somebody important like me, a nurse who went to school. So I went on to this diatribe. I didn't go to school to empty trash cans. I'm not going to empty trash cans. I'm going to write a letter. And after listening to all this, my sponsor said, Helen, wouldn't it just be easier to empty the trash can? And that was my first spiritual experience, was emptying that trash can, not saying anything, not kvetching, complaining, not telling you how good I was to empty the trash can, just simply doing it. And I want to say also that in this program, it's really the 6th and 7th steps that are transformative. And when you write the 4th step, these words, selfish and self-seeking, will often come up if you have a good sponsor who's listening carefully. And your sponsor might even try to suggest to you that you are selfish and self-seeking. But this is the problem. We are not responsible for ridding ourselves of this selfish behavior. We have to only be willing. What that involved for me is trying on new behaviors for size. That involved, for me, they say you can't think your way into right actions. You can only act your way into right thinking. So that involved me just doing the action despite what I thought, despite whether it was fair, despite whether I was going to get any reward later, just doing it. And just the act of doing it in time, and for a person like me, it took a lot of time. In time, that changed my thinking structure and allowed me to become a more loving, kind, giving person. Also, another problem of mine is I lacked basic acceptance of people. I thought that by virtue of the role you played in my life, you owed me something. Like if you were a husband, there's a laundry list of things you had to do. If you were a mother, that's the pinnacle of all roles. You really should behave in a certain way. And what I learned this step means is that I have to be charitable in my thoughts about you and my actions towards you, even if you are not behaving perfectly in your role. And that I have to pray for you, that I can't talk badly about you. These are all part of manifesting this particular promise. And I think it's, one of the more difficult ones. But through being here for 45 years and with your love and understanding, I haven't had to work hard at anything. I mean, I haven't had to struggle at anything. I've worked hard and there's a difference, but I will say the struggle is gone. And for that, I am grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen, for passing the baton on to me. I am Greg, and I am a compulsive eater. I live near Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona to be exact. My promise is number 8, self-seeking will slip away. Self-seeking will slip away. I've always been confused by what that means. I'm always thinking, well, selfishness I kind of understand. But self-seeking, I really thought it was the exact same thing. So I did a little research and determined that it's explained for me in the St. Francis prayer, which is a step 11 prayer that is mentioned in the AA 12 and 12, St. Francis prayer, step 11. And in that prayer, it says, part of it says, it is by giving that we receive. The old way that I was living was, it is by taking that I receive. So self-seeking to me means that I need to take stuff from you so that I can receive things. Versus self-seeking having slipped away, which means that it's by giving things to you, to other people, obviously outside of the program, that then I receive. And I will tell you this, that I came into OA in 2008. And at this moment here in Phoenix, it's 7:43 in the evening. Before I came into OA, well, before my recovery started in 2008, I would be drunk at 7:44 in the evening. Every single night, I'd be drunk. You know what I was drunk on? I was drunk on Oreo cookies. So in one hand, I had Oreo cookies. In the other hand, I had a remote control. Every single night I was drunk. Okay. And I haven't had a bite of dessert or a bite of junk food. I don't have sugar, white flour, all that stuff since the end of 2008. And I'm maintaining about a 60-pound weight loss, my healthy body weight. So these promises somehow must have come true for me. Not every single day, but they must come true for me by working the steps automatically, a side benefit. So I was thinking about this as far as the way I'm trying to live now, which is it's by giving that I receive, which really is all about faith and all about love. So to give, I have to have the faith that things will work out okay. So it has to be a spiritual type of giving. And I have faith. So by giving as much love as I possibly can, I don't have to go the old way, which was by taking that I receive. And by taking, I often realize that that's food. And by taking food, I receive something inside of me, that same good feeling that I get now from God. That same good feeling I get now from God. How much Oreos can I eat? How much can I take to make me feel good? Versus how much can I give to make me feel good? And an example, I was visiting my daughter in the Miami Beach this past weekend from Phoenix. And I'll tell you, what a nice place. She made a mistake moving to Miami Beach because her dad's going to visit her a lot. She should never have done that. She should have moved to some other place like Brooklyn or something. Just kidding for the person. I grew up in New York, just kidding for the guy that's from Brooklyn. But anyway, what I was thinking of, when I got on the airplane, there was an empty seat next to me, which is fantastic, right? So a woman walks down the aisle. She has a little dog, a French bulldog, so cute. She sits down right behind me. Someone sits in the middle for her. All the seats are taken. She has no room with her and her dog. You know what? So what I did was I said, let's switch seats. I'll move to your seat where it's totally full, and you sit next where I was sitting, and you have the empty seat. And I felt really good about that, and she felt really good about that. It ended up she didn't even need to move because she moved to another aisle. But the whole point of this is, for me, is that by giving up my middle seat, I felt good. And I imagine she felt good as well. I didn't sit there and say, this I see, I'm seeking it from me. No one's going to take it. And that is the difference really for me before and after recovery. By giving up that seat, by giving in order to get, it's a beautiful way to live. It really is. And I would encourage everyone to give it a shot, you know. Give up that middle seat and give it to somebody else. And hopefully you can fly to Miami Beach at the same time. It's really worth it. What a gorgeous place. I'll pass. And now it's Gina's turn.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Gina. I'm a compulsive overeater. I live in LA County in a little city called Harbor City, and my home intergroup is the South Bay Intergroup. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So I got assigned number 9. Our whole attitude and outlook will change. So basically, let me qualify quickly because I have to tell you what OA has done for me. So basically in 2009, I walked into these rooms, just crying pile of mess at 400 pounds. And I have given away 200 pounds of that naturally through the grace and beauty of all of you. So my promise starts with our, and I love that. It's our program. It's our promises. It's not unique to Gina. It's for everyone. And so my whole attitude was, back then, I was a stubborn, hard-headed, unteachable person. And people would say, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I would say, the only thing I need to do is be fat and die. That's what I need to do. So that's how teachable I was. I just did things my way. And my way got me very, very, very ill. And I have always been ill. I've always had some kind of emotional problem and basically suicidal ideation. I never would actually harm myself or anybody else. But I prayed to God often to kill me, to just let me go to heaven and just, this is a wrap. I don't know how to do this. And so that was a constant. So depression was a constant. It was complete misery. And the food just got worse and worse and worse. And I did the same thing that we all do. Diet again, diet again, take 100 off, take this off, take that off. And it always came back. So I am one of you. Our whole attitude and outlook will change. How did that happen? Well, I came back in the program, it was a hot mess. And I got a sponsor who told me, I'm gonna sponsor you. And thank goodness, I said, okay. And eventually, I always kind of did it. And something told me I really wanted recovery. And so I looked to the very tenured people in program that had what I wanted. And I said, I'm gonna start doing all the things that they do. And so one of the things that they really do is to really study the steps. And so I asked a big book thumper to take me through the steps another time. And I uncovered, we did it very slow and methodical. And there was lots of dictionary looking up everything. And then I realized at some point, this is a lot of darkness, and this is probably going to require a lot of light. And God is light. And so that spiritual awakening began there with my understanding that I wasn't going to be okay with just telling God how I was going to do it. I was going to need to be all in. So that third step of where you start to rely on God and growing that more and more and more. The more I did that, the more I was open to let go, the more I could go through the horrible things of my life, the more joy came into my life. I was like, I was crying, but I felt kind of peaceful when I was crying. I had like my sad days were like sad, but not really devastating. Everything used to devastate me before. So my whole attitude and outlook now is like, I love me, I love you, we're all together, big family. That is my outlet. That is my outlook now. I stay in touch with God so that I can live in steps 10 and 11 and 12. You know, I'm reflecting on me and what I'm doing, and then I'm calling upon God, and then I am giving back to other people. So this is our program. And so the more that I can give back to others, then the more the promises will ring true. So this is your grateful compulsive overeater fellow Gina, and I will turn it over to the next person. Promise 10.
My name's Maury. I'm a compulsive overeater, grateful compulsive overeater, and grateful to be here today, and grateful Thanksgiving. Thanks for asking me to share. Thanks for putting it together, and Frank for starting us off with just a great presentation. My promise is fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. I am a fear-based person. I have always been a fear-based person. When Maury is into Maury, Maury gets scared. And it's about, and how can I, but I also want to pretend that I'm not. I was a great pretender, pretending I had it all together, and down underneath there was just this scared little boy. A couple of what got me here. I've been in Overeaters Anonymous for a long, long time. I came in at age 40 and I'm almost 82. So it's over 40 years, and I hear other people have been around a long time. For me, it's sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. It's been so slowly. I do have approximately 130-pound weight loss, and I'm very grateful for that. But food is but a symptom of a deeper underlying disorder. The basic disorder is that Maury doesn't feel comfortable in Maury's own skin. I don't like Maury. And I'm afraid what you're going to think of me. My first sponsor, when I did my first fourth step, one of the character defects was fearfulness, and in parentheses, fear of detection. I was so putting on a false front and so afraid that you were going to find out I was not okay. So I had to stay very closed and to stay away from people, to isolate from people. And I still can be there. I can still do that. Those character defects have not disappeared. They have been removed. There is distance between them, but they're still there. And it's very ironic that I was asked to share on this, because I'm going to do something this weekend with a group of people that I'm presenting something, and I'm scared shitless because, oh, how am I going to look? What are they going to think of me? Am I going to be good enough? It's all about me, to the tune of I. But it's, I've been wrestling with that for the last 2 or 3 days. And you know, I haven't had to eat over it. I hadn't had to stuff myself. And I'm going to do Thanksgiving tomorrow. God willing, I won't stuff myself. I don't think I will, because I don't feel any need to stuff myself. And I realize that that's all about, when I'm into fear, it's because I'm not trusting my higher power. You guys have allowed me to find a higher power to rely on. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. I don't have a fit spiritual condition all the time. That's for darn sure. But when I'm there, then I can just be the best Maury can be. And if they like it, you know, if they don't like it, that's really up to them. You know, not to take it personally. If they don't like it, it's because they're seeing something in me that they don't like in myself. You guys have taught me that. Financial insecurity, more was never enough. No matter how much food is a good example of that, you know, but everything else was the same thing. There's never enough love. There's never enough doing it right. I'm a perfectionist. It's never good enough for me. That's self-will run riot. And I was a great example of selfishness and self-will run riot when I came into this program. And I can still go there, as I say, but I don't live there today. Through working the steps, through coming to meetings, through talking with others, through writing, through all the tools we have, but mainly through the steps in a power greater than myself, I'm able to recognize, to be grateful for what I have, to want what I have, rather than to have what I want. I think one of the other speakers referred to that. I am so blessed, and actually, I have quite a bit of material things today, and I'm very grateful for that. But it was never enough, and it wasn't about that hole down deep inside that was never filled. So I'm going to go into that meeting on Saturday. Probably there'll still be some of the fear there, but I'm going to take my higher power with me. I'm going to take you guys with me, and I can love myself because you guys love me. I've learned that in Overeaters Anonymous. I've let myself be loved into recovery. And I think that's all I'm going to share. I'm going to pass that on to the next person.
Hello, I'm Michael, and I'm a grateful, abstaining, compulsive overeater from Sacramento, California. And my promise is we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. You know, when I think about the promises, they all seem to say that we'll be delivered a certain amount of freedom. And I am so grateful for Overeaters Anonymous because for me, I was in a self-constructed prison before coming into OA. And whether I was eating or whether I was not eating, no matter where I went, I was with me. And talk about handling situations which used to baffle me. I wanted to handle everything, and I couldn't to my satisfaction. And so I ate. In fact, most of the time, I wanted to be temporarily distracted from my life. Even today, if I want to be, all of a sudden, I want to overeat. It's normally because I want to be temporarily distracted from something. And most of the time, if I can listen to the still, small voice, first of all, not only listen, first is hear it. Because if I'm eating, if I'm in my own head, if I'm self-absorbed, I can't hear the still, small voice. Certainly when I was eating and up to 270 pounds, I couldn't hear the voice. If I'm lucky enough today to hear it, I have to listen. I have to actually say, oh, that's the still small voice telling me you don't actually need to respond to that. That's very different. That's very different than how it used to be. I don't know why, but I've been thinking about the 3 steps of hope, faith, and trust. For me, I didn't all of a sudden come into the program and I trusted. For me, it's kind of like, forgive the analogy, a restaurant. Somebody tells you, oh, you should try out this restaurant. It's really going to be fabulous if you go. So I have hope that if I go to that restaurant, maybe it'll be good. That was kind of like asking God for help. I hope it'll work. I'm not sure, but somebody else said it's going to work, so maybe it will. Then I actually try it, and it actually works once. It's like going to a restaurant. You have a good meal. You go, well, gosh, that was a good meal. I have faith that if I go back to this restaurant, it's going to be good again. I have faith that if I keep asking God for help, I keep asking God to help me with situations that used to baffle me, I will have a freedom from my self-constructed prison. After you do it for a while, my experience is it turns into an unshakable trust that I know if I go to that restaurant, I'm going to be able to get my fish and my vegetables, and they're going to fix it just the way I like it. And I know if I ask my higher power for help, if I listen to that still small voice, that I will be able to handle any situation. And that's been my experience. I never thought I would be able to go to a wedding again without eating wedding cake. I never thought I would be able to go back to my job abstinently. I never thought I would be able to share who I actually was. And I have that great freedom today. I have JC on my shoulder. No, not the JC, maybe. I think of Jiminy Cricket. He's on my shoulder and he's saying, Michael, I'm with you and I'm your conscience. And if you not only listen, not only hear, but listen, all the answers to your baffling situations are deep, deep within you. Stay abstinent, help a neighbor, trust me, and all will be well here and hereafter. And that is something that's completely baffling to me today because it's a freedom that I never, ever knew I would have 34 years later. I'm here with my mom. Together, I think we have 75 years of abstinence. And I'm so grateful on this Thanksgiving to be sharing it with all of you from around the country. God bless and thank you. Pass.
Hi, I'm Lonnie, compulsive overeater. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Michael and everyone. I think I struggled with how to present this, and so I'm just going to share a story with you. Quite a few years ago, I worked for a bagel company. No, not the cute bagel place where you get the bagel and the latte and you're off. No, this was massive production, bagels down one side, pizza products down the other side, and a boss that said, Lonnie, you can have anything you want, anytime you want it, as much as you want, you choose. I took that one to a meeting and my sponsor, thank you very much. One day near the end of my employment there, I'm feeling a bit off. I'm really just feeling strange and I'm not sure what it is. And I realized as I'm walking to my car, I'm getting really food focused. And I'm thinking, wow, was it smelling the air of the bagels and the pizza all the time? Is this descending on me? No, I'm not overwhelmed. Okay, let's just go home. We'll fix this. I get in my car, I start going home. I'm processing my thoughts. And I realize that what's happening to me is I'm going down the rabbit hole. I am falling into a full-on food obsession. And this is a place I never want to be. I'm 34 and a half years in OA, and I came in at 340 pounds. And trust me when I tell you, I don't want to be in this place I'm feeling. But I'm craving food right now the way a low-bottom drunk craves alcohol, what the big book calls the mental obsession. And I am afraid. It is either descending down on me or upwelling from inside of me, and I don't care from which direction, but I am afraid. I'm afraid because I see what's happening, and I feel like I'm staring into the face of the abyss, and I'm afraid of the mental obsession, that full-on obsessive crave. I'm afraid because I am powerless to turn it off. I have no defenses against this. I didn't eat anything to turn it on. I didn't worry about that part, but I don't care because all I can think about now is what can I do? What can Lonnie do to make this stop? It needs to stop. I don't even remember operating my car at the time, but I can remember that feeling, and I was probably in my 12th year. I can remember that feeling of dread and fear that afternoon. Air conditioning is blowing full blast, yet I am perspiring. No, actually, what I'm doing is I'm sweating bullets, okay? And all I have at my command in that moment is to pray. And I think I need to pray. So I start to pray. Serenity prayer, probably maybe 12, 13, 14, 15 times. Lord's Prayer, prayed the rosary. Third step prayer, I'm not kidding you. I think I even prayed, now I lay me down to sleep. Anything to make it stop, and it's closing in. And I finally take a breath and I start to dialogue out loud. And it kind of sounds something like this. Please, God, this is the stuff I cannot handle by myself. And I am terrified. I need you right now in this moment. I need you to take this burden from me. All by myself, I cannot stand against this awful force. Please help me right now. I need you now. Okay, so it's not just one time. I'm in a litany in here in my car because remember, I said I'm terrified. And it stopped suddenly, gone, like a light switch. It was so sudden, I wasn't sure it had actually ended. So I immediately thought about food again to confirm if it had actually stopped. I didn't always tell you I was sane, right? By the time I arrived home, I was weak. My clothes were damp. The seat of my car was damp. I was exhausted, and yet I was eternally grateful because in that short drive home, I experienced the power of the obsession and addiction, just like an alcoholic or a crack addict, the same addiction, a different substance. And I saw that I alone could not stand it down. I also witnessed the awesome power of a God that could stand it down and did stand it down. From the bottom of my heart at that day, I understood the word suddenly if I didn't understand anything else because it took me a while to process. I learned my lesson of humility, and I learned the lesson of the real power of this 12-step program. I was given peace. Thank you so much for letting me share, and thank you for all of you who were here.
Thank you. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. I've asked Jessica from Silicon Valley to complete the promises for us.
Hi, everyone. Jessica, compulsive overeater, San Jose. And one more time, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Thank you, speakers. You are all so inspirational, and we are grateful for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Silicon Valley people, for your service in making this happen. And this is the first time we've done this via Zoom. So if you have comments, we would love them in the chat because we might be doing this again via Zoom next year. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Good night. Thank you.
For more information about Overeaters Anonymous and for other workshops sponsored by the OA Silicon Valley Intergroup, check out www.oasv.org. You can find and order OA literature and local OA meetings and online or Zoom OA meetings at www.oa.org. If you have any questions or feedback, please contact us at oasv.virtual.meetings@gmail.com. Thanks for your attention.